Welcome to Football Discussion Daily. My name is Joe, and I'm here with the co-host
You.
CGO. We're George. Today is the 2nd of April, 2026. Please like us, subscribe us on whatever platform you follow us on. We release long-form YouTube, short-form Instagram, TikTok, and other platforms every single day. Today, big news: World Cup final brackets came out for the first time. We had, since George and I last released, we had Congo beating Jamaica. We had Iraq beating Bolivia. So I'm going to read off these final groups. George will have them up on the screen. Group A, we have Mexico, South Africa, South Korea, Czechia. Group B, Canada, Bosnia, Qatar, Switzerland. Group C, Brazil, Morocco, Haiti, Scotland. Group D, United States, Paraguay, Australia, Turkey. Group E, Germany, Curacao, Ivory Coast, Ecuador. Group F, Netherlands, Japan, Sweden, Tunisia. Group G, Belgium, Egypt, Iran, New Zealand. Group H, Spain, Capo Verde, Saudi Arabia, Uruguay. Group I, France, Senegal, Iraq, Norway. Group J, Argentina, Algeria, Austria, Jordan. Group K, Portugal, Democratic Republic of Congo, Uzbekistan, Colombia. Group L, England, Croatia, Ghana, Panama. George, my first reaction, I'm going to ask you your reactions here to this draw is, I think a 48 group game, 48 team World Cup waters down these groups a bit. I think that there is some tougher groups, but I've definitely seen group of deaths in previous tournaments that I feel like are stronger than almost any group here. I don't see a true group of death. Do you agree with that assessment, George?
Well, I guess the reason why we don't have something that one would really say is a group of death, maybe based on what you said now, is because of the large amount of teams we have. Because prior to this time, we normally have 32 teams uh, qualify for the World Cup. I think it was 2016, from 16, they increased it to 24, 24, 32, and now we're at 48. So the more numbers you have, then there's that likelihood that you might find teams that are not really top class coming. And then when groupings are done, most times it's always done based on a lot of factors. So at the end of the day, instead of getting to have maybe three tough oppositions or three tough teams in a group, then it becomes a bit difficult having that. So I guess that's what is making it look as if we don't have any kind of group up there. But there are still some groups here that I feel looks very interesting, and we are going to see very, very tough, tough fixture, if you ask
In
me.
your opinion, what is the toughest group? Because I'm going to go ahead and say, I think I judge a group by this. This year is also weird where there's there's a set of third place teams qualifying, so that each team plays each other team in their group twice, and then obviously the top two in each group advance. But then there's, I think, several teams who are most of the third place team. I think it's like 8 out of 12 get to advance as well. So only a couple teams are being eliminated in that first round. But as we go, only 16 teams from 12 groups are being eliminated. So third place is good enough. And so, of course, most of these teams are trying to jockey and get to a position where if you're a third place team, you're going to face a first place team, which is likely to be stronger. And so it's just, but it is a lot more room for error in this tournament where you really have to get third. Really, one win is almost certainly going to guarantee you a spot in the next round. So in previous tournaments, we've seen 4 and 5 points. Sometimes not good enough. I don't think we're going to see that this tournament. So I think, that being said, I do think Group F is probably the strongest for me. Netherlands, Japan, Sweden, Tunisia. When I say that,
Yes, yes.
I don't think the top team is. I think there's not a lot of gap in skill here. I think that the top team, the difference between top and bottom is close. Any of these 4 teams going against each other, I think anything could happen. When there's games in other groups where, Cabo Verde against Spain, I can't see a situation where Cabo Verde gets anything out of that game. It's their first World Cup. They're happy to be here. So I think Group F is one of the strongest groups. I can see any of those teams finishing 4th. And so that's just my personal opinion. George, you said you agree with that?
I agree with you 100%. That was what I was about to tell you when I looked at all the groups. The group that looks very, very unpredictable is Group F. any of those four teams can go through. That's what I see. Even though we say Netherlands most favorite, they are the favorite to come out of this group or to come out tops in this group. But we know the Japanese, we know what they can do. We saw in the friendly they played against England. We saw they were able to defeat the English team. So it is a team that you can't really write off. They have always been improving with every World Cup edition. And
All four of these teams have players in top 5 leagues.
yes,
Tunisia's probably the only one where the majority of their players are not in top 5 leagues. I also think Group A is pretty strong. I mean, Mexico is probably weaker than they've been, but they're still all players who, I need a lot. Like the Mexican league is also pretty strong. Consistently beats MLS. South Korea, Czechia, both have a bunch of players throughout Europe. I think that's one of the stronger groups out there. So another one to look out for. George, do you have an opinion on what the weakest group is?
the weakest. When you look at the weakest group here, I would say maybe Group G, where we have Belgium, Egypt, Iran, and New Zealand. Maybe that's the one I would say might be a bit weak. That's the. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I was looking at Group D. That's United States, Paraguay, Australia, Turkey. Again, none of these teams are pushovers, but I don't feel like there's a single standout team that's great. And I feel like they're similar to Group F. There's not a lot of variance between these teams, but I feel like they're a level below the Group F teams that we said was a stronger side for me. So that's one of the weaker groups. I also think, you know, when I'm looking here, there's a couple teams I think are just happy to be at this World Cup, and there's one or two groups that have two of those teams. I'd say Group H with Cabo Verde and Saudi Arabia. I think there's a big gap between the top two teams in Group H and the bottom two teams in Group H, Spain and Uruguay, and Cabo Verde and Saudi Arabia. And so, I think that'll be that'll be a group where every team, not every team is hoping to win that group. I also, in terms of strong groups, Group L also strikes me as strong. That's with England, Croatia, Ghana, and Panama. Panama is probably the weakest team in that group, but again, they are all professional players and fully capable of beating any team over 90 minutes.
So which of these teams do you think might spring a surprise at this tournament? When you look at all the groups we have, maybe they are coming to the World Cup for the first time, or they are coming back after a very long while. Which of those teams do you think can surprise us?
I mean, I don't want to say it's. I was before you said the first time World Cup. I do think Belgium will make a strong run. This team is a combination of guys in their mid 30s who was their last hurrah, and a young talented guys, and a bunch in between. They have probably the best goalkeeper in the world. Kevin De Bruyne can still hit a pass even if he can't run like he could 5-10 years ago, and they have a lot of young talent. So I think, and they're, in my opinion, by far the strongest team in their group. So I think they'll make a run. When I'm looking around here, George, I see a couple teams who it's their first time. So I haven't really, I can't, I don't know if I can make a judgment on Haiti or Qatar because I don't know any of their players. I do see teams in here that I've seen a couple of their players, like Paraguay or Uzbekistan, that I think that traditionally aren't powers, but I've seen a couple of their players emerge. Uzbekistan has Kushnov on Man City, who's been pretty good, and so I do feel like a couple of those teams can. I'm excited to see what their players can do in the World Cup, but I can't make a prediction and say those teams are going to go. A lot of the teams that are newer, I don't know the players.
Because if you look at if you go to group that is if you go to group K, we have Uzbekistan. I don't think Uzbekistan has been to the World Cup before. This is their first World Cup, and do you think they can survive the group? And even DRC Congo is coming back after 52 years. So because the last time they were at the World Cup, I think that was 1974.
Yeah, it's
Do you
interesting.
see any of these two in this group surprising us?
You said
Or it's
Group
going to
K.
Yes, Group K, or it's going to be Portugal maybe finishing fourth, and then we see Colombia finishing second.
George, I think Uzbekistan might surprise people. I think they'll get a result or two. I think they could get third place. I think Congo gets third place in this group. George, here's a trivia question for you. There's a player who played in Nigeria who was born in Uzbekistan. Who was it?
He played for He's playing for which country?
He's retired. He played for Nigeria. He played 65 appearances, and he was born in Uzbekistan. Do you know who it is?
Maybe if you can help me, because
he played in England Premier League. He played 6 or 7 seasons there. I believe he's half Nigerian. This is just based on remembering what he looks like. He scored a goal in the 2014 World Cup against Bosnia and Herzegovina, the only goal to beat Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Trying to remember who scored that goal.
It was Peter Odemwingie. Was born in Uzbekistan.
Oh, yes. That's correct. Yeah. Yes.
But
they call him Osaze. Yeah, they call him Osaze Odemwingie, but his name is also Peter. Yeah. So okay. Yeah, that's very correct. Yeah. Most times, you won't forget some of these things because it's been a very long time. But that guy was a very good player. Yeah.
How many Nigerians make it to Uzbekistan? It's interesting. Yeah, George, I think Group K, that again, most people would probably expect that Portugal, Colombia, Democratic Republic, and Congo. There's that clear stratification in terms of historic quality between these 4 teams and what they've been able to accomplish. And so but football has a funny way of surprising people, and I think Group K is going to be one of those surprising results. Portugal is an interesting team because, again, Ronaldo, I don't feel like is a net loss on the pitch if he plays 90 minutes, but he's such a good leader, and he is definitely capable of finishing because he's one of the best of all time, but he is 41 years old, and so I'm very curious as to what he can accomplish in this World Cup. If anything, if he historically he's had trouble setting his ego aside at the club level and saying, I'm willing to be on the bench. But for Portugal, there's times where he's been able to do that because he has less of an ego about his international career. And I think that's led to Portuguese team being, maybe more successful over recent times. But I think that's an interesting situation to watch because Ronaldo almost certainly will be on the squad. And I'm very curious as to how many minutes he'll get this tournament.
So what do you have to say concerning the comments of Jose Mourinho, who said that Portugal doesn't look too good in the absence of Cristiano Ronaldo?
I mean, I think that he's a player who, I think that these other guys, even if they're 10, 15 years younger than him, they all grew up idolizing him. I think that they all play better when he's there, even if it's on the bench. I think that he, Ronaldo, they won the Euros 2016 with Ronaldo basically on the bench. And I think it was Ronaldo Sanchez who scored the winner of that tournament, if I remember right. But, Ronaldo, I think his value is more as a leader than on the pitch. I think that Dzeko is another player, bring him on for 30 minutes at the end of the game to get a finish. I think if you're strictly talking on paper and Ronaldo and what he can do, that's it. But these games are not played on paper, and Ronaldo is an aura, is a team, is a player people look up to. In the international game, you can deal with every team deals with the weaker player or two on their squad or their limitations a lot more than the club game because you can interchange players at the club level a lot better. If you have a 41-year-old player who's not as good as he was 5 years ago in the club game, you can ship him off to Saudi Arabia and replace him with a 22-year-old who's not very good, who can run a lot. At the international level, that doesn't happen as often. There's a lot more continuity, is a lot more valuable. Can be a lot more valuable. The tactics are a little simpler. It is somewhat different of a game, and I think Ronaldo, he cares a lot about Portugal still and can still finish, and it'll be exciting to see him play.
Yeah. So if I ask you for you to name the top 5 teams that are your most favorite to win this World Cup.
Spain and France, and then a huge gap. I think Spain and France by far favorites. And I'll say England, England, Argentina, England, Argentina, 3-4. And I'll throw in Belgium in there. So, what about you, George?
Well, I think I will pick France, Spain, Argentina, Portugal, and then let me see, Brazil.
Okay. Well, it's interesting. All right, George, let me just close out today with the standard questions. Who are your 5 teams in order who you think have a chance at winning this World Cup? What do you think the strongest group is, and what do you think the weakest group is? There's a lot to discuss this tournament in the next couple months, and I'm excited to see what happens. Thanks for listening.